Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. We just talked about UGA and how I think this might just be Kirby Smart's best team he's had at UGA, and that is a scary prospect for a lot of teams out there. But will be a very, very interesting thing to watch. And just a reminder, we are going through a couple of struggles with some of the lower third graphics. Definitely did not save what I did yesterday, but more than fine. We'll let the show go on and kind of get underway. But we're going to talk about Horns Down. And one of the big things that has kind of been surrounding the SEC media days over the last couple of days has been this debate around Horns Down, around is it going to be a penalty in the SEC? It was in the Big 12, so obviously this is a question that SEC fans and players and coaches want to know the answer to. So the SEC coordinator of officials, John McDade, was asked about this, and first of all, he said it's kind of a goofy conversation. He feels like it's kind of a weird thing to be asking, but regardless, the answer was essentially it depends on the context. It depends on the case-by-case basis. If an opponent scores a touchdown against Texas and does the celebration not at anyone or anything aggressive, more than fine. No problem there. If they do it, standing over a player after hitting them or after, tackling them, whatever, then you get into the taunting realm and you kind of can get into a little bit of an issue. So I fully understand that, and I think that totally makes sense. Frankly, I'm a big advocate of letting guys stand over others and kind of letting taunting be a little bit allowed more than it is right now. I tend to believe these guys are professional football players at this point, and if you hit someone really hard and you want to talk a little bit of smack to them, I have no problem with that. But at the end of the day, I understand you got to draw the line somewhere. I understand that certain things just have to happen, and this is one of them. You have to draw the line. You have to make sure that no one is taunting, no one is, doing anything aggressive towards another person, and I suppose that makes sense. Frankly, I think that taunting should be something that is very, very specific. Like if you make physical contact with someone or you say something truly, truly terrible. But for the most part, I think let the guys say what they're going to say. It's on the football field. The emotions are always going to run high. There's going to be insane amounts of adrenaline and physical contact and a lot of different things that bring out that emotion, and kind of holding that in just doesn't feel like the right way to go about business. But that's kind of a side point. I feel like I'm not going to win that battle with a lot of the officials out there. So that's just kind of the way that I look at it. I think if they're going to play football, it's going to be aggressive, and they're going to have moments where they don't necessarily love the other one. So I think there's going to be a little bit of trash talk, and I'm more than on board for that. So, but getting back to this conversation around Horns Down, sincerely, I've asked this question pretty much 10,000 times since this has come up, and as it's been kind of brought back up every single time that we have these conversations. And the biggest one is just who cares? I'm having a hard time figuring out who cares and why they care. And I know that there are Texas fans that care because I'm a Texas fan. I grew up a Texas fan, am a huge one to this day, and likely will be until I die. And I can't speak for other Texas fans and their experiences. Personally, I love Horns Down. I think it is one of the best things about college football because it is college football. It's the perfect encapsulation of what makes this sport different. It is hatred just because of the color that someone else is wearing. I love that. I think that is so cool. I absolutely love Texas. I love college football way more, and Horns Down is absolutely incredible for the sport of college football. So that I am fully on board with. I can't speak for other people, but overall, the people that I've interacted with in that space, the Texas fans that I have interacted with on social media or in other spaces, 95% don't really care or kind of like it. And some like it because they think it means that we're always on their mind. Some like it because they think it shows that Texas is a superior brand. I don't necessarily care about all that. I just like it because it's really clean, old-fashioned hate, and that's the good thing about college football. But at the end of the day, it's insane to me that anyone would care. And I understand that Texas fans do care. There have been a number of instances around Texas that have not been great around this, where people have cared, and I've been just flabbergasted by those people. But at the end of the day, the conversation has kind of popped up at different moments, and there have been a couple of different moments. Sam Ellinger had a tweet way back in the day that was a little bit grandiose for my taste, that I didn't necessarily love in the moment, but it was kind of talking down on people that do Horns Down and saying, we'll remember everyone that does Horns Down, and we'll remember that the next time we face off. It's a little bit goofy. And then Rodney Terry, obviously the basketball coach over at Texas, screaming at the UCF players for doing horns down. It's created a little bit of an energy around Texas that everyone around Texas absolutely hates this thing and is offended every time that it's flashed in front of them and goes off in a corner and cries. And I think that's something that, maybe it happens to a number of different people. Maybe there are some Texas fans out there that get really upset by this. I think they're really weird people, but that's beside the point. The Big 12 is one of the biggest things in this because they made it a penalty during their Texas time in the Big 12, and it was frankly just plainly the wrong decision. And I'm sure there were some people in the Texas decision makers, the boosters, whoever, what have you, that were pushing for it to be banned, that were pushing for it to be penalized. But it really all came to a head in 2012 when Texas Tech was in Lubbock, or Texas was in Lubbock facing Texas Tech, and Texas receiver Mike Davis was flagged for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for holstering his gun, which, if you know anything about Texas Tech, they do a guns up signal. So essentially, same type of deal, right? You turn what they have as their sign, you turn it upside down, and you make it look goofy. That's kind of the way horns down works, same way that this worked. And that's where it started. Horns down was not a penalty at that time, and Mac Brown thought that was incorrect. If guns down was going to be a penalty, horns down should likely be a penalty too. And frankly, I think he's right. I think that there's a fair argument to be made there that if this one symbol that is absolutely unacceptable to do to a fan base, then the other one should be as well, right? But at the end of the day, the Big 12 made the wrong decision on the other side of it. And I'm not saying that Texas wasn't pressuring them to make that decision, because I tend to believe there were a lot of people that were. I'm just saying the Big 12 very easily could have just said, yeah, they probably shouldn't have called that, and moved on and said, it's going to not be a penalty. We're going to move forward because it's college football. I've been a part of the Texas fandom for quite some time now, and I've interacted with a lot of people, and I've had a lot of conversations about horns down, and I've had a couple of friends that have done horns down quite a bit to me throughout high school and things, and I love it. I think it's a really, really great thing about college football that we can have these moments between two fan bases that maybe they haven't ever met, but you're walking across the street and you see a fan in the Oklahoma shirt and you're wearing a Texas shirt. He flashes horns down at you, you flash horns up at him. That's good energy. It always has been, it always will be. And I don't understand why it was ever a penalty in the Big Ten. I think that's one that is just outright ridiculous for like 10,000 different reasons. The fact that it was a penalty, but also there's no world where it should be a penalty in the SEC. You have a chance to right a wrong that the Big 12 made. Do it. Please do it. And please don't let any, Texas brass or big swingers in the Texas market come in and try to influence decisions. And that's another thing that's been coming up in SEC media days, this idea that Texas is going to come in and ruin the SEC and run the conference. I can promise you that's not the case. If Texas thinks that's the case, if Chris Del Conte is sitting in his office thinking that he swings a bigger hammer than Greg Sankey, he's just entirely wrong, and he's going to be in for a rude awakening. And I don't think Texas necessarily thinks that way. So obviously, this should be not a penalty. This should be a part of the sport, and frankly, I would love to see it more often. I think it's an absolutely awesome way to show that you hate this specific school. It starts young, as you can obviously see, and it's just good energy. It's something that I talked about before, but college football needs a little bit of hate. It doesn't need to be aggressive. It doesn't need to be, going after people or, being hateful, but it needs a little bit of anger. It needs a little bit of hate, and it needs a little bit of weird hate, the hate that you're just wearing the wrong colors type of hate. I love that. I think that's really, really good energy, and it shouldn't be a penalty overall. Like, just in summation, it shouldn't be a penalty. As a Texas fan, I absolutely love it for so many different reasons, mostly because I like college football more than I like Texas, and that is college football right there. There's no two ways about that. But also, if you're someone that is offended by horns down, you're a Texas fan that absolutely hates it, and you think that it disrespects your school, and you think it's wildly unfair and taunting and whatever, all I can really say is grow up. All I can really say is, realize that Texas is not the biggest thing in the world and that it's not even the biggest thing in college football right now. So grow up, figure it out. Horns down should be a part of college football moving forward, and we should just stop talking about it. Let the guys do what they're going to do. Let the guys get in each other's faces a little bit. Let the guys throw the horns down. Let the guys play football. I don't understand why we keep trying to police celebrations. It's a very, very weird thing that has happened in sports in general, but especially in football, and it's very, very frustrating. Horns down is one of those things that, yeah, it does make me a little bit angry when I see it because, it is kind of going against my school, but it doesn't mean I don't love the sentiment behind it. It doesn't mean I don't love the energy behind it and the fact that it is part of what makes college football special. So I understand that this is going to be a conversation. As sure as I'm sitting here talking to you guys, there is going to be a conversation about this throughout the season, and I'm going to be frustrated all over again. But at the end of the day, I just wish we would retire this one, not make it a penalty, and just let the guys play. So that's kind of my take on that. Just wanted to get that in today's show. But we'll take our third break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about hinge players in the SEC. We're going to go through all the conferences, but start in the SEC today, and I have 5 guys that could totally turn this conference on its head. So I'll break that down right after this, so stick with us.